Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now is veteran journalist, Eric Teniola. Mr. Teniola, welcome to the morning show.
Thank you, Dr.
Yes, I introduced you earlier at the beginning of the program.
Thank you.
It's good to have you on the morning show.
Thank you.
You wrote a piece recently in which you were doing a review of presidential cabinets with regard to, I think, 3 persons. Sir Tafawa Balewa, President Shagari, and then President Obasanjo. And you said most of the presidents in Nigerian history who have had a second term in office didn't retain more than maybe 8% of their entire cabinet, including special advisors, special assistants, and ambassadors. Well, what do you think is likely to happen with President Buhari's cabinet during his second term, considering that over a period of 4 years, he has more or less kept the same team, not even sacking anyone? What do you expect, and what will you be advising him to do?
Well, the prerogative is left for the president to decide on what to do. But in this case, judging by past records, presidents, in the first term, is the party that decides for the president. But in second term, president on their own. This time around, there will be less pressure from the party, that's by the APC, and it's left for the president now to decide his list of ministers. I don't know the people he would like to select as ministers, but I can guess some people are going to play a prominent role in this second term.
Yeah, but is it entirely up to him? Isn't it the tradition that state governors nominate ministerial appointees, and then the president ensures, in line with the Constitution, that there is proper representation of every state, and then he has the discretion of choosing maybe about 3 or 4 of his own?
The Constitution says the president must pick a minister from each state.
Yes.
That's 36. Yes. But the Constitution does not direct the type of ministers he is to pick. He may desire to pick some ministers of state and some states as cabinet ministers. But in this instance, as you know, you worked in the presidency. As you know, the president has the prerogative to allocate portfolios of his own choice. Yes. In this, there's no law that says the president cannot pick the list of ministers without the party contribution. What I'm saying first is that he's on his own. In the first term, it was a product of a coalition. This coalition definitely must have contributed in contributing the list of ministers he was to pick. But this time around, there's less pressure from the party. And I think he would like to make his own choice.
But how will you assess the present cabinet? And what kind of cabinet would you like to see?
I would like to see in the second term, a proactive cabinet. The president has been able to examine in the last 3 years the quality and the contribution of his ministers. But now, he knows those who are good, he knows those who are not good. But the overriding factor that determines qualification is loyalty. If he finds some ministers that are loyal, he may desire to retain them, but I don't see him retaining more than 20% of his other cabinet.
Well, the president has said that only those with integrity will make his cabinet, his next cabinet. How significant is that, and is that enough criteria?
He's a military man. I think the most important quality for him is loyalty. When he says integrity, I don't know what he means by that, because definitely you can't be a minister without integrity. You must have passed through certain examinations from your party nomination to the Senate. So I want to believe that those who pass through the Senate are men and women of integrity.
Well, but let me take you back to the point you made about having a cabinet that will be more proactive.
Yeah.
I guess you mean that, ministers who will be more hands-on, more productive, But many of these ministers, while defending budgets before the Appropriation Committee of the National Assembly, made it clear that, they are handicapped because in terms of, budget performance, some of them were reporting very low figures because they say the proposals in the Appropriation Act are often not cash-backed, and hence their hands are tied.
Whose fault? Whose fault? If the ministers are complaining, whose fault? They are in charge of their ministry, and I think they have relationship with the National Assembly that determines the approval of their budget. So if a minister says that he's handicapped, we should ask whose fault. I think it must be his fault.
Some of these ministries, we've seen them being bundled and unbundled. We have those referred to as the super ministries. Do you think that we should continue in that line, considering the performances of some of these ministries? What would you like to see? Would you advise the president to unbundle them? I know President Buhari has always been about lean government because of lack of resources. But would you say that we should continue on this trend of bundling ministries?
The Constitution, first of all, the Constitution did not say that you will be Minister of State. And it is now that we are seeing that some ministers are ministers of state and ministers of cabinet rank. But I want to see a president who directs, who supervises some of these ministries. Because you don't just appoint somebody alone. There must be a supervision of that minister. Then the permanent secretaries too have a lot to do in terms of the performance of the ministries. Because the permanent secretary, I think they are the finance directors. I mean, they are the ones in charge of cash, while the ministers are just political heads. And the permanent secretaries are the professional implementers of the provisions of the Constitution in terms of a budget. So I want to see the president supervise them more than what he has done now.
Let me be specific. When I say super ministries, we have currently a situation where you have Power, Works and Housing, and you have Babatunde Fashola as the minister of that ministry, which was merged. Do you think, when you look at power, you look at housing, and you look at infrastructure in the past 3.5 years, do you think that that ministry should remain merged?
I don't think he merged them. It's just appointed a super minister to supervise the 3 ministries. If you go to Mabushi, that's in Abuja, the Ministry of Works is still Ministry of Works. The Ministry of Housing is still Ministry of Housing. While the Ministry of Energy, that's Power, is still Ministry of Power. What the president did was to have confidence, because all presidents have favorites. It shows that by giving 3 portfolios to Mr. Babajide Fashola, he has confidence in him. He's his favorite. All presidents have favorites. But in the situation we are in now, I don't expect we should have a super minister who will oversee 3 key important ministries. I don't see how Mr. Raji Fashola will be asked to supervise 3 cabinet ministries this time around.
Well, let's talk about the recently concluded elections. Just before the elections, you wrote a piece in which you were complaining that elections in Nigeria have become too much of a burden on our economy and that we cannot continue this way. I guess your concern was about inconclusive elections, staggered elections. What do you think we can do differently? Because INEC is insisting that elections have to be staggered anyway because of competition and hitches that result in elections being inconclusive.
Ruben, I don't think it is our interest to spend a greater percentage of our budget on just holding elections. Infrastructures are suffering. So there can be a way of minimizing our budget expenses on elections. And that's what I was trying to raise, that the cost of elections, they keep on rising. Keep on rising, keep on rising. And meanwhile, it's at the deterrent of our, detriment of our very urgent infrastructure. For example, now, the most basic 2 things, urgent things in the country now is security, insecurity, and poverty. Definitely, we spend all the money we have on elections. how much amount are we going to spend on these two urgent issues of security and poverty? There is high poverty in the land, and this is what is building a lot of all these social problems. So I'm saying that we should find ways and means of reducing the cost of election.
Well, but we can't do without elections.
We can never do
And the
without
estimates for these elections are usually submitted to the National Assembly, and there is line-by-line vetting. And in fact, INEC probably will say that they could even do with more money.
Then are we going to spend all we have on them, all the elections? What I'm saying is that there can be a way out of reducing the cost of election.
How? Considering population, geography.
No.
Logistics.
No. We can reduce the logistics. For example, they said the INEC in 1999 gave certain projects on logistics. Some of the equipment they used in 1999 could still be used again. Why do we have to be buying new vehicles, almost all buying new things? Why? Why should we be buying it? There are some things we can still keep for the next elections. Don't spend all the money on just, I wonder what next year, in 4 years' time again, we bring money again to spend on the same logistics. Why? We are having problems in terms of finance. So we should not spend all our money on holding elections. That's what I'm saying.
Well, the president has reiterated the importance of a cooperative legislative arm of government. The APC has a majority in the Ninth National Assembly that will be inaugurated in June. But I'm sure you've been watching closely what has been going on with the leadership, anointed candidates, so to say, and of course the dissenting voice coming from other members of the party. Are you optimistic that the president would have a rancorous-free Ninth National Assembly with what is playing out so far?
Well, the president has already said that he doesn't want to meddle into the elections I'm talking leadership positions in the National Assembly, which I think is wrong. He has to ensure you cannot leave National Assembly on its own because National Assembly is part of the government anyway. He has to be interested in what goes on in that place, the leadership. It's true. The National Assembly people are free to select their own type of leaders. But definitely there's a way the president can intervene and trying to ensure that his own choice prevails. That is not to say that he's interfering with what goes on in the National Assembly. But definitely in this National Assembly, in terms of passage of bills, in terms of appointment, approval of his ministers and ambassadors, not special advisors. So he has to be interested in what goes on in the National Assembly. He has to.
So how does the president go around this? Not interfere, but yet ensure that his favorite, or to put it in your own words, be interested in the leadership. How does he go around this?
He has a political party. The leadership, politics is about consultations. The leadership of the National Assembly can always consult, the leadership of the party can always consult him, and through that, he can always consult and ensure that his own interests are protected in the National Assembly. The party can come in. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
But the party has already intervened. We have comment from the national leader of the party. We have comment from the national chairman of the party. And this doesn't seem to have gone down well with those who are revolting or the dissenting voices. They feel that this has been, shoved down through their throat, foisted down on them.
I don't think there's nowhere in the world where there's complete independence in the National Assembly. The party, because all members of the National Assembly were voted in on a political platform. So the party still urge a control over what goes on in the interest of the members, right? Now, if the president says, I want this man to be, I'm sure the president must have found the quality in the leadership of that individual that he wants, either as Senate president or Speaker of the House of Representatives. I don't know. But definitely the president has to be interested in what goes on in the National Assembly. You cannot just leave it free. No, I don't think so.
In one of your recent pieces, I think this was a piece on Taka, the late Joseph Taka, you used the phrase, the conquest agenda of the Fulanis. What exactly do you mean by that? What is the conquest agenda of the Fulanis?
Look, Ruben, the Fulani people are migrant people. They move from here to there to there. And I think that is what has sustained their own civilization. A tribe or a people that don't migrate are bound to lose their identity sooner or later. I think, judging by what I wrote on the conquest agenda of the Fulanis, they move. Every tribe, every section, every group wants power, ultimate power. And I think the Fulanis are not different from others who want power. The migration policy of all the tribes ensures for each tribe to move from one place to the other. I don't think, like any other tribe, the Fulanis want power. They want power, and I don't think anything is bad about it, because other tribes too want power. Because if you migrate from one end to the other, you are taking your own culture to other people's culture. So definitely, what I think the Fulanis want, well, what I wrote is...
The Yorubas maybe are not as migrant as Igbos and the Fulanis, but people also complain about Yoruba hegemony.
Yeah, Yorubas used to be migrant.
Okay.
But now I think they have stopped there, because you find them in Freetown, you find them in Liberia, but now I think they are getting withdrawn to their own cocoon. I wonder why this. But the Igbos are migrant people. They move from the southeast to the north to... But Yorubas used to migrate even to London, to Europe before. But now, I don't see them moving again. They are getting withdrawn. Maybe they don't understand other tribes.
But this conquest agenda of the Fulanis that you talked about, in another piece, you were saying that, look, the two frontline presidential candidates in the 2019 election were both Fulanis, and that this was about the first time in Nigerian history that you have the two frontrunners coming from the same stock.
Yeah.
Right? Do you see a possibility of a shift, maybe in 2023, now that the Igbos are saying it should be their turn? What do you think is the prospect of an Igbo presidency?
I think it is unfair for one tribe to be denied the leadership of this country. I think it's very unfair to deny the leadership. And I think if the Igbos say they want a shot at the presidency, I think it's their legitimate right. And I don't think anybody should stop them. And if other tribes have got the presidency, why can't the Igbos have their own president? What's bad about the Igbos having a president? I don't see anything wrong in the power shift.
Let me ask you about the security situation in the country. I mean, right after the elections, we're seeing an upsurge, kidnappings, banditry, Boko Haram, and general killing and theft. What is your take?
I think after the election, the government just went to sleep. That's my conclusion. Because before the election, the government was active. But after the election, almost all the insecurity just started emerging one by one. And I think we should move to arrest the insecurity in the country, because it doesn't tell on the unity of this country. The government, I think the president held a meeting with the security chiefs yesterday. He's been holding such meetings. I think such meetings should continue. We need security in this country. We need it very, very urgently.
Everybody says we need security. The president himself is saying the same thing.
Yes.
But how do we ensure security? That is where the challenge is, on a sustainable basis.
Well, we have the security sharps still on ground. We have the military, the paramilitary. I think we should drum into the hands that we need security in this country. Because, in fairness, there have been loose ends. In the past, I used to travel by road from Abuja to Akure to even to Calabar to Uyo. But I can't risk it now, because There's so much insecurity, and that's what I was saying. Insecurity, poverty brings insecurity because it creates social problems. The most important thing for this government to do is to tackle the issue of poverty. The level of poverty in this country is getting higher and higher and higher. And I think the government should do something about it.
That'll be all?
You think we should let Mr. Teniola go?
Yes, I think we should.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For helping us throw some light on some topical issues in Nigeria.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's time now for a short break. When we come back, there will be more on Transition 2019 with Atedo Peterside, founder of the ANAP Foundation. Stay with us.